Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, we're doing part 5 to the extremely popular series titled Man Ensures Marriage in History After Catching His Wife and Brother in Three-Something After the Wedding. And guys, let me tell you, this is like sequel week. I've got so many great updates to these stories you guys have definitely been invested in. It's just one after the other, so I'm just cranking them out because I know you guys really enjoy them. As a very, very quick recap, in the best of my ability, that's the story, if you all recall, about the guy who got married, thought he married an amazing woman, was with her for years, no red flags, believe it or not, and the night of their wedding, he catches her and his brother hooking up. Oh, and I might add, also the maid of honor, if you want to add her too, for kicks. Big fight, carryings on, a whole 9 yards, and he ends up dumping, obviously, the wife, shortest marriage in history, cuts off ties with the older brother, family, because the mother was taking the brother's side, so he should just get over this. And he didn't talk to them for like 16 years, okay? Done. Then he finds out that his brother was dying, and refused to go to see him in the hospital. Brother died, and found out that, lo and behold, that the brother and the gal that he did marry but divorced, had a kid they didn't know about. He had a niece. It goes into part 2 when he was debating whether I should get to know this niece, etc., etc. Should I forgive my brother, blah, blah, blah. And found out a lot of dirty details that apparently the brother, his older brother, who he idolized and was a chick magnet, was having a relationship with this girl for like up until the wedding, 3 months before the wedding. Then he finds out that actually, no, they were hooking up for 3 years. His own brother was doing his girlfriend and fiance, and then wife, right up to the wedding. And then it finds out that his mother knew about this. She knew about it the whole time. I mean, it was just a terrible situation. And it was gotten to the point that he was then met the niece, started talking to her, getting to know her. He decided that he was obviously rebuilding a relationship with his dad. And then the last episode, he finds out that not only that his mother cheated on his dad, but that he is not the biological child of his father. His father, who he thought was his father, is not his real father. Mom was cheating on him, and somebody else is his dad. And the girl he thought was his niece was, in fact, his daughter. This guy has had one crazy thing happen after another to him. He's like Job from the Bible. And we're picking up where things left off with more revelations that have come about and things like that going on with his family. I mean, if there's anybody that deserves amazing things coming to him, it's this guy. I keep telling him, go buy a lottery ticket because you're going to win. You need to win these, almost billion-dollar jackpots from the Powerball or Mega Millions, whatever the hell it is, because he has it coming. And then give me a cut. So we're going to pick up where things left off. And let me tell you, the stuff that goes on with his mom and daughter, good Lord. It says here, hello SSM. I plan on sending in an update after Amanda turned 18 and we had a chance to work our way through everything. But life happens and I had other plans. Yes, I forgot to mention in the previous video, he mentioned that he decided he wasn't going to tell Amanda just yet because there was a lot going on and she's been through enough. And also, he didn't want his ex coming after him for child support, even though he had no idea this was his daughter. But they'll see where this goes. On the bright side, I guess you could call this a good update. Well, as good as things can be under the circumstances. As a side note, I think you'll be happy to hear that it's not only adult men that listen to your content. This is kind of a long update, so I'm splitting it into 2 parts. Of course, you can do the entire update or no update at all. Regardless, I owe you many thanks and quite a few beers. Bro, it's my pleasure. I'm glad I could help you. I'm glad the guys in the community could help you. And all you guys out there that are going to watch this, all 50,000 people are going to watch this, thank you for helping this dude out. The last month has been kind of crazy. Dude, your life has been crazy. And I'm not exactly sure where to begin. So I'm going to be going in chronological order of events. I think I have a fairly complete understanding of everything that happened, but I'm sure there are some secrets that I will never know. It was the weekend after my dad showed me the DNA results that I had a chance to talk to my pastor about everything, and he agreed with me that the best course of action was to wait until Amanda was an adult before having that conversation, and he also agreed that no good could come from interacting or confronting Becca. Becca's his piece of garbage ex that was cheating on him all those years and all that, and having anything to do with her is a bad idea. As a side note, He got to see all the videos you posted and found it pretty funny when you were talking about having a man of the cloth on your side. I find it hilarious I have a pastor watching me. A Texas pastor. Aside from the swearing, which I don't have an issue with, he likes your style. Yeah, well, the bad language is part of my charm. His words, he agreed to counsel my dad and I about the change in our relationship. And I think we're going to take him up on that so we can figure out how to navigate all this turmoil in both our lives. He did reprimand me for pissing on my brother's grave, but said he understands how my emotions likely got the better of me. Yeah, well, I'm surprised you didn't take a dump on your brother's grave, given everything that happened. I'm not sorry about that, even if it makes me a bad person. Given the chance, I would take a 12-pack instead of a 6-pack to make sure I got complete coverage. It was on Wednesday, the following week, that my mom came by my apartment begging to talk to me, and as much as I wanted to slam the door in her face, as much as I hate her right now, she is my mom. Well, she was counting on that. I'm not interested in forgiving her, but I wanted to know what she wanted, so I let her in. I assumed that she wanted to talk about my dad filing for divorce, and I was right. For his part, my dad didn't tell her about the DNA test, and he'd been ghosting her ever since he filed. Hey, he has no reason to talk to her. It's done. And you know what? You can't blame him. She wanted me to talk to him to get him to come home, and my anger got the best of me. Again. Let's just say that she was at a loss for words when I told her that I knew he wasn't my biological dad and that Amanda was my daughter. I think she was stunned that I knew, and while she was fumbling for words, I laid into her about everything. Good, she deserves it. And she doesn't just deserve it, she needs to hear what you gotta say. By the time I finished, she was a complete mess, crying and blubbering about how sorry she was. It's usually how it works. I actually had to leave the room for a few minutes to get myself under control while she looked like she was in shock. I'm glad I did. It gave me a chance to calm down and ask questions I wanted answers to. If you were yelling at her, which would be understandable, the likelihood of her having the composure to answer your questions, whether she's telling the truth or not, would be unlikely to happen. So if you were calm and asked your questions like yelling and sarcasm and all that, more of a likely outcome that she would answer your questions. Whether she is truthful, that's a whole other thing. When I went back to the living room, my mom was leaning over, sobbing in her hands. Here we go with the theatrics. As soon as she noticed me, she was hysterically begging me to forgive her. Oh, I'm so sorry. The only thing I could think of while watching her was how she kept it from me for 3.5 years. My brother Dan was sleeping with Becca, and how she lied to my dad and me about who my biological father was. If it had been anyone else sitting there, I'm not sure I would have gone to jail. That was when everything caught up to me. I was exhausted and just slumped on the couch and asked her how could she do that to me. She kept trying to grab my hand while apologizing through her tears. Mostly she was incoherent. That's why I say women have meltdowns like that, and they're crying and they're talking and you can't understand what the hell they're saying. It's like a cross between English and Tuscan Raider. And you don't know what the fuck they're saying. It took her quite a while to get herself together and was begging me to hear her out, while swearing that she never meant to hurt me. That's what they always say. It's because you all were so focused on yourself, you selfish a-holes, you don't think about anybody but yourself. And trust me, all this is for her benefit, to get the dad back, to get you back. Not because she probably feels bad for what she did to you and your dad, it's for her. I mean, her actions, from what you describe, have demonstrated this time and time again. It was hard to see the woman that raised me in this condition, and while I was angry, I'm not a dick. I got her a glass of water and tried to get her to calm down, and took a while longer. I only had 3 things that I wanted to know, so when she was able to talk, I asked her. First thing I wanted to know was, how could she keep it from me that Dan and Becca were cheating on me behind my back, and she told me something that I'm not sure I believe or not. But I have no way to verify it one way or another. If I take her at her word, which I was finding very difficult to do, I guess Dan found out that I was his half-brother while we were still in high school. She said she didn't know how he found out, but almost immediately he started using that information to blackmail her and to letting him do basically whatever he wanted, or he was threatening to tell our dad. Let's just say, for argument's sake, this is true. This is accurate. The acorn doesn't fall far from the tree. The asshole acorn doesn't fall far from the asshole tree. You see how Dan takes after. I have no idea if she's telling me the truth or not, since Dan was not here to talk about it, but that was her story. When he told our mom that he and Beck had hooked up, he threatened her to keep quiet or he would tell my dad about her own infidelity. Flip a coin for whether she was telling me the truth or not. It was a convenient excuse. Who knows? She said that every time she wanted them to stop, Dan just told her that she has no right to say anything unless she wanted her secret to come out. She tried to say she was protecting me, and I yelled at her saying she was only protecting herself, which caused her to break down again. Ah! If she truly loved you and knew that your brother was doing your girl, and you went and married her, she would have taken the hit about her own indiscretions to protect her child, who she should love more than herself. But no. Ah! After reading some of the comments in the last video, I was going to ask her who the biological father was, just in case there were medical issues that I need to know about. But I changed my mind before I got the question out. I know who my dad is, and it isn't her sperm donor. Yes, this dude who raised you and was good to you, even though you didn't talk to him for a while because you're pissed. But as it turns out, that the dad wasn't getting all the information and all that, and he wanted to reach out to you. This is the dude that raised you, and this is your dad. And I'm glad. The last thing I wanted to know was if she was aware that Amanda was my daughter, and she started crying harder, saying how sorry she was, and she could explain. Again, this all comes from the Hobag Handbook. The book I need to have trademarked and written about all the stupid-ass excuses and lines women say when they fuck up. I can explain. She knew. She didn't say it outright. But that was the second I had doubt that she was aware. I asked her how she found out, and again, I'm stuck with an answer that I cannot verify. She said that after the wedding, they were all terrified that I was going to do something terrible to Dan or Becca and wanted to give me time to cool off. She said that she wanted to talk to me during Becca's pregnancy, but she said she knew how angry and stubborn I am, so they waited until Amanda was born and got the paternity test done. So all along, they knew that you were the dad of Amanda, and they kept that from you and Amanda. Because in the last episode, he found out from the dad. And by the way, you're going to see the dad didn't know this. So the mother knew this, Becca the bitch knew this, and Dan knew this, but not the dad, and obviously not this dude. She said that when Becca found out I was the father, she wanted to tell me and try to work things out. But it was Dan that convinced her that it was a bad idea because he knew I would never forgive any of them and it wouldn't be good for the baby. I think he was just a coward and was more afraid that I was going to put him in a box than concerned for my baby. That's exactly what was going on. Mom said that Dan told her it would be better to give me time to calm down and come back, and they would be able to explain everything when I was thinking more clearly. And of course, she said he threatened to expose her if she didn't go along with it, so my mom and dad convinced Becca to not say anything. They told my dad that Dan was the father because my dad was already furious with Dan, and they were all afraid that my dad would disown Dan and refuse to keep her from me. Let's remember that the dad, I believe, whipped his older brother's ass when he caught him hooking up with this dude's wife, which is awesome. Mom said that Dan thought that if my dad was told that he was the father, it would help them repair the relationship, and it did. My mom said that it took my dad a long time, a couple of years, to stop calling Dan a piece of crap and accept him back in the family. They were all surprised that in all that time I hadn't bothered reaching out to anyone, and every time my dad wanted to come and see me, it was my mom and Dan that convinced him that it was the best thing to leave me alone until I came around, because they were terrified that I would do something to Dan that I couldn't take back and would have ruined my life. I get possibly in this argument a year or two, but 16 years? I'm not sure how much of this story I believe. It could be that it's all an excuse to paint her as a victim. No, that's never happened in the history of women effing up. It's not my fault. It's everybody else's fault. But it's hard to tell. I asked her if they ever planned on telling me that she was swearing they were going to. But I never came back or tried to talk to any of them. That after the years passed by, they understood just how angry I was. So trying to put a little bit on you, huh? Well, you never came back, so, we couldn't tell you that. Oh, yeah, you have a daughter out there. She said that no matter what, Dan was going to tell me when he got the chance, and then she said that's when he wanted to talk to me about when she came and told me that he was in the hospital on his deathbed. Oh, only on the deathbed does he want to tell you, clear his conscience so that hopefully he doesn't go to hell. The old joke, yeah, everybody all of a sudden becomes a saint before they're going to die. It's like the old joke about, like, why are the grandparents so good to the grandchildren when they were a pain in the ass to their own kids? Because grandma and grandpa want to go to heaven. That's why. My grandma, I had the coolest grandma. My mom's mom, my grandma was awesome. So cool in ways I can't describe. She died almost 30 years ago. I still think about her. I miss her. But apparently she was a pain in the ass to my mother growing up. So, and the old joke is, yeah, grandma wants to go to heaven. Which I'm sure she is, drinking her Coca-Cola. Grandma drank Coca-Cola like you wouldn't believe. She said that Dan provided for Amanda. Oh, he says here, I just don't know how much of that I can believe. She said that Dan provided for Amanda, but he tried to stay out of her life as much as possible because he didn't want her to become too attached to him, so it would hurt her less when she found out the truth. I don't think he gave a rat's ass about her. I hope I'm wrong, but given his actions, I don't think all Dan gave a shit about was himself and getting some. Becca tried for a long time to get Dan to marry her so they could be a family, but Mom said it was Dan. They refused because if they become a couple, he knew I would never forgive them. No, it was because Dan was a chatter Tyrone bad boy type, and those guys don't settle down. She spent a while talking about how guilty Dan felt about what he had done to me, and she said that I was the last person he was talking about before he died, and hoped that maybe in the next life I would be able to forgive him. Dan kissed my ass. He just didn't want to burn in hell. She said that he knew it was karma and that he deserved how his life was ending. It certainly is interesting that this guy died so young. I believe late 30s, early 40s or something. I asked her why Becca never said anything in all the time before his funeral, and for the first few years she wanted to. But Dan kept convincing her that after all the time had passed, I would destroy my life and probably end up in prison at that point. They were probably right. No one would blame you if you kicked his ass, but doing something that put you in prison and ruined your life, obviously a bad idea. It was a lot to take in, and I'm not sure if it's the truth. Even if it was, it doesn't excuse what they all stole from me. But when she was finished, I wasn't really angry. I was tired. I'd be tired too, after just all this never-ending shit and revelations. Worn down. When I didn't ask her any more questions for a few minutes, she asked me if I wanted to know who my father was, and I snapped at her that I knew who my father was and told her that this was all her fault. If she hadn't cheated on my dad, she wouldn't have put herself in a position where she could be blackmailed, and none of this would have been possible, assuming that was what happened. 3, 2, 1. Ah! I was done. Regardless of what happened, I know I was the one that lost everything. There's no excuse for leaving me out in the wild, completely unaware for 16 years, and if what she said was true, the only reason Dan was going to confess was because he had nothing else to lose. I got up and told my mom it was time for her to leave, and I didn't want her in my life anymore. Ah! She broke down and started begging me to forgive her and to get my dad to talk to her. No. I may forgive you in time, but I'm not going to be the liaison to Dad. I told her she was dead to me and that it was time for her to leave. Oh, Jesus. That was when she started hyperventilating and she got up, trying to hug me, I think. But she only made it a few steps before her nose started bleeding and she blacked out. I freaked out thinking that I killed her. I tried to get her to wake up and checked her breathing. I ended up calling an ambulance and was trying to get her to wake up. She did after about 5 minutes, but seemed disoriented when she came to. I'm not sure how long it was before the ambulance got there, but they took her out on the gurney and let me know which hospital they were taking her to. Either she went to shock, or the Golden Globe goes to Mom for best performance to make me feel guilty. I felt like I was going to have a heart attack, but got on the road to the hospital and called my dad on the way and told him what happened. At first he didn't want to come, but he gave in and got on the road. They ended up keeping her under observation for a couple of days, but I only stayed until my dad arrived and told him everything my mom had said. He looked pale when I finished telling him everything, and I think he probably aged 10 years by the time I got everything out. He did confirm that my mom and Dan were constantly asking him to leave me alone until I came around because they didn't want me to do something that would ruin my life, and he begrudgingly agreed. I stayed long enough to make sure he wasn't in serious danger, or she wasn't in serious danger, and left my dad to look after her. Maybe I'm just ungrateful, cold-hearted bastard, but I waited until I knew she wasn't in danger, and it's more than she deserved. Definitely going to need some more counseling. Yeah, dude, some counseling, some words of wisdom, advice from your pastor. Yeah, you're going to be okay. And, dude, nobody can blame you for walking out of there after you knew she was okay. I haven't talked to my mom since that day, but I did ask my pastor if I was doing the right thing. He said that he understands how angry I am and advised I keep my distance for a while, but also said that eventually I need to accept that people are flawed and maybe someday I'd be able to find in my heart to forgive her. Well, everybody's flawed. You're flawed. I'm flawed. Your mom most certainly is flawed. But when these flaws are a lifetime a history of lying, cheating, manipulating, gaslighting, and a whole bunch of other crap thrown in there over and over and over again, that takes the flaws to a whole new level. In my view, you can forgive for your own peace. Doesn't mean you got to forget, and doesn't mean you have to have that person in your life to keep doing these harmful acts to you. But time will tell. I just don't know if I have it in me, but who knows? The one thing he said that kept running in circles around my head was, how can you expect forgiveness if you aren't willing to give in? I think I know who he's referring to in the forgiveness department. I know he's right, but I'm not sure if I'm that good of a person. I guess time will tell. Time will tell. And at the end of the day, it's your own decision. And you got all the time in the world. Now on to part 2. And if you thought part 1 was interesting, wait till we get to part 2 here. This part 2 is going to involve Amanda. And, well, you'll see. I would like to say that since then, my life has gotten back to a peaceful existence. But it was about a week ago that my plans for waiting until Amanda turned 18 got busted. Oh boy. Let's remember, guys, through the story, his first impression of her, and it was accurate, this girl is a good kid. Rare you're going to find a teenage gal nowadays with the influences out there that's actually a good kid. And she sounds like a really good kid. And this poor kid has had a lot of bullshit going on in her life. And when you're a teenager, especially a teenage girl, your emotions are through the roof. And things get pretty crazy. Teenage gals, any teenager, but teenage gals can really go off the deep end and let all their frustrations out through alcohol, drugs, sex, so well, watch this. I've been talking to Amanda for about 3 times a week, but usually only for about 10 to 20 minutes at a time. It was hard not telling her that she was my daughter, but thanks to you, SSM, I didn't have to. It's your fault. Watch this. It was on April 28th, on Thursday, when I got a call from Amanda a little after dinner. Normally when we talked, she always sounded upbeat, but at this time she was more quiet than usual, and I could tell something was bothering her. I asked her if she was okay, thinking she was just going through a sad period because of my brother's death, but she abruptly asked me if I was her dad. I'm like, what? Where'd that come from? I didn't want to lie to her, but I dodged the question by asking her why she would think that. She told me that her BFF's boyfriend had shown them a video on YouTube, and the story had too many similarities for it to be a coincidence. Are you telling me that this world is so small that in Amanda's high school, her BFF's boyfriend watches me on YouTube, or somebody showed him and connected the dots that this is about her, and she found out that you're her dad through me on YouTube? You gotta be shitting me. This poor kid, that's not the way this poor kid should find this out. And for me, I asked her to tell me about the video, and she said there were 4 of them. There are 4 of them. I think my lips went numb. There's no way she saw those videos, but she went on to tell me how there was a girl in the story that found out that her mom cheated on her wedding night, and that her uncle spent some time talking to her on the porch of her grandparents' house, and she never met them. Yeah, this is it. And by the way, Amanda is not her real name, although I like the name Amanda. The girl in the story was 16 as well. I couldn't believe that she saw the videos, but she kept on telling me of all the similarities, including going out to dinner and the movies and the weekly calls. I guess I put too many details in my story. The first thoughts I had were that Becca was going to run me through the ringer in court, but I admitted that I was her dad and the videos that you were watching was our story. I had no idea what to expect, but all I could hear was Amanda crying on the other side of the call. Yeah, you never saw this one coming. I had no idea what to do or what to say. I kept trying to get her to talk to me, but she wouldn't stop crying. Again, when girls have meltdowns, it's a cross between English and Tuscan Raider. It's probably your best bet to let her get it out. The last thing I heard before the call disconnected was Amanda screaming something. I tried to call her back, but she didn't pick up. The only thing that was going through my mind was, great, I found out that I have a daughter, and now she hates me. That was around 6 p.m. Well, welcome to being a parent of a teenager. Oh, man, this poor kid. Never-ending shit for her. And to find out through me. And since 4% of my audience are women, and plenty of women think I'm the biggest dickhead on the face of the earth, this is not a good start. I know she's going to watch this, so Amanda, I know that's your code name. Give your old man here a shot. He's a good guy, really. Don't blame me. Between all this shit with my mom and now that, I was really tempted to pop open a bottle. But I didn't. But I had no idea what to do, so I decided to just wait and see if she would come around and talk to me again. And yes, I was feeling pretty damn sorry for myself and felt stupid because of it, knowing that everything that Amanda thought she knew was a lie. I guess it was a little after 10 p.m. that same night when I get a call from a number I didn't have, and it was Becca's dad. He apologized for calling so late, but said he needed to talk to me. He went on to tell me about what was been going on. I guess Amanda and Becca got into a huge fight, and Amanda ran away to her grandparents' house and said she didn't want to go home. Who can blame her? Her whole world has just been crumbling. This is what I said. If this isn't done right, a lot of teenagers go off the deep end into alcohol, drugs, sex, and all that because as an outlet, as a way to escape from the turmoil and confusion in their lives. When he asked her what was going on, she told him about the videos and that I was her dad and that her mom had been lying to her entire life and she hated her. He and his wife got Amanda to calm down a little and tried to get her to explain what she was talking about, and she said that she had a friend get her boyfriend to text her the links to the videos. I guess there were only 10 minutes into the first video when Becca showed up and Amanda started screaming at her again. He said he got them calmed down long enough to watch the videos. So yes, SSM, the whole world has seen them now. Well, I've been on here long enough and I have enough of an audience that sooner or later these things are going to happen. Shit, 2 years ago, I get a text from my cousin, my favorite cousin, and she says to me, because she didn't know about my I didn't have the conversation with her about my channel because it was still the era of COVID, and I didn't see my family for a while, and she says, so, what's up with YouTube? And we were talking, and apparently her older brother, my other cousin, found me on YouTube, and that whole side of the family, because apparently, real quick intermission here, my older cousin said, hey, this looks a lot like, I'm not going to say my name, and she goes, that is him, because we're closer and she knows me. And then the whole family's watching my videos and discovered I'm on YouTube. So, you never know. All right, back to the story. When they finished, he asked Becca if it was true, and she admitted that she knew I was Amanda's dad, but she was afraid that if she told me that I would get myself into trouble. He asked me if they could all come over and talk the next day after swearing to me that he had no idea. I figured since the cat was out of the bag, the only thing left to do was figure out where to go from there, so I agreed to meet with them. I didn't want them coming to my apartment, so I told them that I would go to his house after work on Friday. Yeah, very smart. Don't bring him to your place. After I got off the phone with him, I called my dad and told him what was going on and asked him if he would meet me there because I didn't want to be there alone without a witness, and he agreed. Very smart. All day at work, I was trying to imagine how the evening was going to go. But the only thing I knew for sure was I had to keep my head. When I got there, my dad was there and her dad were talking in the front yard, but stopped when they saw me pull up. When I made it over to them, they told me that Becca, Amanda, and his wife were already inside. Her dad started apologizing to me for everything and promised to try and make up for some of the damage that had been done to my life. I had no idea how he was going to do that, but I appreciate the sentiment. We headed into the house, and I have no idea why, but I had the Imperial March tune ringing in my mind. Yeah, because you're about to see Darth Vader, your ex. The other thing that was missing was Darth Vader's heavy breathing. That's your ex. Stupid, I know, but my mind was all over the place. I could tell... I could talk about the next 3 hours, but suffice to say that there was some yelling, crying, and more yelling. Mostly from Amanda and her grandparents, and Becca spent most of the evening trying to apologize for everything. Amanda has the right to yell all she wants. I don't blame Amanda. For the most part, I was able to hold my anger in check, and by the end of the night, we all agreed that I was going to be able to take a more active role in Amanda's life, and Becca wasn't going to go after me for any kind of financial support. And there you go. So long as Amanda wants this. Amanda has to come to terms with all these things in her own timeline. And you got to be there for her and be the strong rock for her. That's what a girl needs. That's what women want from their guy. Whether it's their husbands, boyfriends, or for a girl, her father. He is that strong rock that's solid, unwavering, bad choice. Strong, solid, and that can be there for her. And when she's having her meltdowns, can listen and hug her and hold her. But again, this is when on her timeline, because she's dealing with a whole lot of shit right now. Most of that was because her dad threatened to disown her if she did anything else to hurt me. Good job on Dad. I'm not sure if she would have played nice without that threat, but I'm glad that he was sticking up for me. One thing that was discussed and a big concern of mine was that I had no idea how to be a dad. So we agreed to take things slow so I could work my own way into it. Amanda's going to start spending every other weekend with me so we can get to know each other and flesh out what our relationship is going to be. And remember, guys, he and Amanda's her code name, they seem to hit it off and click immediately. Probably because they're so much alike. Think about this. This guy here has had a never-ending shitstorm going on for years. People that close to him betrayed him and all that. And Amanda, same thing. She finds that all these things in her life were not true and all that. Both you guys can heal together. I'm going to have limited contact with Becca and only things concerning Amanda. I guess that part was inevitable. I did find out something that was a little troubling, though. What else could possibly be thrown at you, my man? When Amanda was born, Becca put my name on the birth certificate without my knowledge. I'm not sure if that was legal or if the mom can just put any name on it she wants, but wow. Number one, I'm not surprised. And number two, I doubt that's legal. I did get a chance to question Becca about some of the things my mom had told me, and she confirmed most of it. Most of it, huh? Again, left with impossible questions. I have no idea if she was telling me the truth or if my mom got a hold of her after she talked to me and fed her a story. You cannot rule that out. I hate that I can't trust a word that came out of my own mother's mouth, but such is life, I guess. I don't think I'll be sending any more updates after this. We shall see, amigo. I hope that there's no more bullshit coming into your life to send me an update. What I'd love to hear is your next update saying that things are going well. Your mom and dad are divorced, and your dad's getting a second chance at life, and he's happy. I want to hear that you and Amanda, after obviously some healing and talking and all that, and she's going to need you to be a very good listener to her. Things are going right. I hope there's no more. And you won the Powerball. And give me 1%. I want to hear good things are going well for you. I need to learn how to be a dad and figure out my own life and how Amanda and me are going to fit. I don't think I'll ever get over what was stolen from me, but I think I'm going to focus on the future instead of the past. Learn from the past, but yes, focus on the future. I missed most of her life up until now, so I'm going to make each moment count twice as much. Maybe someday the scales will be even and I'll be able to look back without anger, but I'm not there yet. Take it one day at a time. Like my dad always told me, yesterday is over and tomorrow isn't promised. Today is the most important day of your life. Dad's still going through with the divorce, and he said my mom's taking it pretty bad. But like I said somewhere else, there are some things you don't get do-overs with. As for my dad and me, we're going to be okay. Yes, you are. You're there for each other. I guess the silver lining is this tragedy that's been my life is finding out that there are young men in high school watching your content. So the information getting out there before many of them are going to make mistakes. Thank you for your time and consideration, SSM. Holy crap, brother. Well, cat's out of the bag with Amanda. And like I said before, she's a teenager. She's 16. Emotions are through the roof. Anyway, throw in a whole bunch of finding all these things out about her life and her family that she didn't know about or was lied to. She's going through hell. And she found out about this watching me. Okay? Good Lord. Give her time at her own pace. And let her know she can trust you. And she's had all this dishonesty thrown at her. She needs to know that she can 100% trust you. So if she asks you questions, you must be honest with her. Even if being honest with her could mean that she gets pissed off or flies off the handle or something like that. Her emotions are raw. You got to build the trust that she count on you to be truthful with her no matter what, good, bad, or ugly. And you're there for her. You're her rock. You're solid in life because she needs that. And in time, take it day by day, and you guys will heal together. You, Amanda, and your dad. And I wish you nothing but the best for all of you. And that's all I can say. And everything's going to be all right. And as with your mom, nobody can blame you if you had nothing to do with it at this point. But I do want in time, hopefully, through time, talking with your pastor who likes me except for my bad language, that you can forgive your mom. Again, not necessarily for her, but for you. Because going through life with anger in your heart's a poison. Life is too short for that. And so I wish you the best. And if I don't hear from you again ever, or I don't hear from you for a year or 2 years, I'd love to hear that the next time around, things are really in the up and up for you. It's going well with you, your old man, and Amanda. And Amanda, if you're watching this, and I know you are at this point, give your pop a chance. You know, he's been through hell. And you know this. And nobody expects you to heal overnight. Everything's been crazy, but he's a good guy. And I wish you the best too. And I'm sorry to find out through me, because I know I can be offensive to many, but I'm not actually the enemy. I'm a pretty cool guy. And believe it or not, the women that like me, really like me. And the women that hate me, really hate me. But you'd probably like me. Anyhow, wish you all the best. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Definitely give this guy a shout out and some praise. He could use it. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.